Good morning everyone. So today we're going to read a little story, and this story is called The Snail and the Whale. And the person who wrote this book, or the author of this book, is Julia Donaldson, and she also wrote the book The Gruffalo, which I know all the boys and girls love in room 4. And the illustrator of this book, or the person who drew the pictures, is Alex Scheffler. And if you look on the front cover of the book, you can see lots of different things. There's lovely pictures in this book. You can see a little crab down there. You can see a big whale. And if you look really closely, you can see a little snail on his tail. You can see a volcano in the background. You can see a little turtle down here. And you can see a parrot in the sky. So let's get started. Okay. This is a tale of a tiny snail and a great big blue humpback whale. This is a rock as black as soot, and this is a snail with an itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. So you can see the ships and the dock and the black rock where the snail lives. Okay, next page. Okay. These are the other snails in the flock, who all stuck tight to the smooth black rock, and said to the snail with the itchy foot, "Be quiet, don't wriggle, sit still, stay put." But the tiny sea snail sighed and sniffed, then cried, "I've got it, I'll hitch a lift." This is the trail of the tiny snail. A silvery trail that looped and curled and said, "Lift wanted around the world." I wonder who'll give her a lift. Let's see. Okay. So, this is the whale who came one night when the tide was high and the stars were bright. A humpback whale, immensely long, we were only talking about long and short in our maths, who sang to the snail a wonderful song of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves. And this is the tale of the humpback whale. He held it out of the starlit sea and said to the snail, "Come sail with me." So I think the snail hopped on his tail there. So let's see what happened next. This is a sea so wild and free that carried the whale and the snail on his tail to towering icebergs and far-off lands with fiery mountains and golden sands. These are the waves that arched and crashed, that foamed and frolicked and sprayed and splashed. The tiny snail on the tail of the whale. These are the caves beneath the waves, where stripy fish with feathery fins and sharks with hideous, toothy grins swam around the whale and the snail on his tail. This is the sky, so vast and high, sometimes sunny and blue and warm, sometimes filled with a thunderstorm, with zigzag lightning flashing and frightening the tiny snail on the tail of the whale. That looks a bit scary, doesn't it? This one looks lovely. See the next page. picture is beautiful. Look, we can see a bear, we can see an eagle in the sky. And she gazed at the sky, the sea, the land, the waves and the caves and the golden sand. She gazed and gazed, amazed by it all. And she said to the whale, I feel so small. But then came the day the whale lost his way. These are the speedboats running a race, zigging and zooming all over the place, upsetting the whale with their ear-splitting roar, making him swim too close to the shore. Oh no! Look at the whale. This is a tide slipping away. Oh my goodness! And this is the whale lying beached in the bay. Quick! Off the sand, back to sea, cried the snail. I can't move on land, I'm too big, moaned the whale. The snail felt helpless and terribly small. Then, I've got it, she cried, and started to crawl. I must not fail, said the tiny snail. This is the bell on the school in the bay, ringing the children in from their play. This is the teacher holding her chalk, telling the class, sit straight, don't talk. This is the board, as black as soot, and this is the snail with the itchy foot. A snail, a snail! The teacher turns pale. Look, say the children, it's leaving a trail. This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail saying, save the whale. I wonder what's going to happen next. Hopefully they help the whale. These are the children running from school, fetching the firemen, digging a pool, squirting and spraying to keep the whale cool. This is the tide coming into the bay. And these are the villagers shouting, hooray! As the whale and the snail travel safely away. So thanks to all the people, and thanks to the snail, the whale was safe. Back to the dock, and the flock on the rock, who said, how time's flown, and haven't you grown? And the whale and the snail told their wonderful tale of shimmering ice and coral caves, and shooting stars and enormous waves, and of how the snail, so small and frail, with her looping, curling, silvery trail, saved the life of the humpback whale. Then the humpback whale held out its tail, and on crawled snail after snail. So then, once the other snails heard all the amazing stories from the faraway lands, they decided they wanted to go on an adventure too. And they sang to the sea as they all set sail on the tail of the grey blue humpback whale. And that's the end. So the snail took a risk, didn't he? He didn't know what was there in the faraway lands, and he was so tiny. He was lucky he had a friend like the whale who was nice enough to bring him on a little trip around the world. But then the snail helped him. When he was stuck on the bay and he couldn't move, the snail, even though he was small, could help his friend the whale. Hope you enjoyed that story, boys and girls. Slán!